life Gypsy Rose Blanchard has. From a child abuse victim to a murder of her own mother to the internet celebrity that is nearly being cancelled right now. Internet is such a fun thing, like it can put you on top of the world, cherish you, idolize you, and then as quickly it's gonna drop you down and step on you, just like my ex used to do with me. Gypsy Rose was an icon, a face of liberation all over social media and even traditional media for like a week.
Gypsy Rose is being released out of jail. Yay, Slay Queen!
I couldn't see them at the time.
She's the face of one of the most...
And now everyone hates her.
I changed my opinion on the Gypsy Rose situation in less than 24 hours.
So let's take a closer look at her story and learn some lessons about the internet and people in general. Gypsy Rose grew up with a mother who had a Munchausen syndrome by proxy, which meant that she was basically a hostage of her own mother. For her whole life until she was in her 20s, she was treated like a disabled person. She was in a wheelchair. She was getting surgeries that she didn't need. She was being drugged all the time. And overall, her mom used her to get attention, to get money, and just to like profit in so many ways. And then when she was like 24, she met a guy, and this guy murdered her mom. Remember her now? This story was so huge that even me, growing up in Siberia, I knew about this story back then. And she spent 8 years in prison. She got released literally like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Even before she got out of the prison, she was already love-bombed by the media, by social media. And you know what happens after someone is being love-bombed? There's either withdrawal or hate. So let's talk about what this story teaches us. We are gonna make a celebrity a hero out of everyone. No matter what your background is, no matter what you have done, if it's good or bad. People were excited like it's a new movie release or something. How did we forget that this is a child abuse victim and she was serving 8 years in prison? Why? How can we treat her just like another influencer? What kind of like a pipeline it is from a child abuse victim, murderer, influencer. While still in prison, she was already promoting a documentary about her.
There was also a lot of emotional and physical abuse.
Her book that is being released this month. Then she was out and she got a bizarre media tour. Everyone wanted Gypsy Rose on their own platforms. All the interviews on YouTube channels, then it's TikTokers talking to her, begging her for more content.
Welcome home.
This is so weird. The sad thing about it is that all the people who want Gypsy Rose on their platforms are not doing it to raise their awareness about her experience, about her living with a mother with a Munchausen syndrome by proxy, about all the other victims of child abuse. No one's talking about it. In the ideal world, she would be out and she would go on interviews and people asking her questions about her experience and how you can help other people who are in the same situation, to educate them about that killing your parents is not the only way to get out and it's not the right way. It's the complete opposite. On The View, a woman was convincing her that she did nothing wrong.
You are not alone in this, situation. There are other ways out. I did it the wrong way.
No. Don't say that.
I did. I did something wrong, and I paid my dues for it.
Oh, you mean that part?
Yes, the part of it.
Yeah.
That part of it. Yeah.
Where are you going with this?
No.
Like making a joke out of her murdering her own mother. It would be so awesome if each of these channels, each of these influencers talked about the child abuse victims instead of just glamorizing and asking her questions about her outfits, about her videos, about her social media posts. Why do we care about that? Why do we care? The lesson number 2 here is that people are gonna love you only if you play a role they came up with for you. And as soon as you fell out of this character, you're done. We don't want you anymore. We all wanted to feel sorry for her. We all wanted to see a victim of child abuse. We wanted to see an innocent little girl in the body of an adult woman who had to murder her abuser like a hero. And she was playing this role. But as soon as she got too comfortable with all this attention, people were like, yo, we don't like you anymore. Why are you saying that to your husband? Why are you talking about sex in the comments under your husband's social media post? The funny thing is that if she was not an influencer, if she had 200 subs, no one would ever give a fuck. You did something stupid on the internet. I did something stupid on the internet. But because we're not influencers, no one cares. No one gives a fuck. So she's getting more comfortable. She's saying more and more things. And people start being disappointed. Like, look at her. She's a real human with normal thoughts and opinions. She's not just an innocent victim anymore.
Yes, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a bad person.
And now she's being called the master manipulator. Even though she's probably just in between. She's not an innocent victim because she served 8 years in prison. But at the same time, she's probably not the master manipulator. She went on a podcast and said that her mother's death was not her fault. That it was Nick's fault, the guy who actually took a knife and stabbed her mother.
Always in my comments, like, why are we glorifying a murderer and this and that and the other? And, I don't want to have to remind people every single time that I'm not the one that committed the act of the kill.
And people came up with a conspiracy theory right away that she is a master of manipulation because she learned everything from the best teacher who was her mother. Like, she manipulated him into killing her mother, and now she is out of the prison and Nick stays in the prison for his whole life. And who's her husband anyways? Is he a manipulator? Is he a new abuser?
There is something up with Gypsy Rose Blanchard husband. Ryan could be Gypsy brother or Ryan could be DT brother. Watch this.
So this guy, Ryan, they met while she was in prison. It is pretty weird and I should talk about it too. He had parasocial relationships with her because he watched a movie about her killing her mother. Imagine watching a documentary about someone killing their own mother and being like, whoa, she's so hot. Wifey material. This is not to say that she's not, but it's still kind of weird. So they got married while she was in prison. She's out now for the last couple weeks. So it's the first time they're living together, basically. And again, people go like, he looks exactly like your mom. You just found another abuser. Or the opposite, like she's gonna use him and take advantage of him. Or even, like, who knows? Maybe it's her thing. And the lesson number 3, you have to work really hard not to get cancelled. Like, not everyone can be the wokest person out there and always know what to say and how to say it. And I feel like Gypsy Rose got into this trap that she was getting too comfortable with this love bombing and all this attention. And then she started doing and saying things that are kind of weird. As an example, she made an Instagram post with her underage nephew saying, hey ladies, show him some love in his DMs. Like, she had no idea that if he's 15, you cannot just post a picture of him without blurring his face, basically. And, like, you can totally not say, like, show him some love in the DMs.
Gypsy Rose pimping out her underage nephew to her over 8 million followers on Instagram completely and totally did it for me.
And her saying that she's not a murderer is also another reason why people will get her cancelled. The more you talk, basically, the more chances you have to get cancelled. I can kind of relate to that because I'm not as familiar with the whole social, cultural context of this country because I'm not from this country. And whatever I know, I learned in the past 6 years of living here. But there's still things that I can miss out on. I can say things that are not appropriate anymore, even though I would have good intentions. So I'm kind of also not experienced, not educated enough just like Gypsy Rose probably is. Like, this girl has never had normal life. She was a hostage of her mother. Then she spent 8 years in prison, and now she's out, and she's still not having a normal life because she is an influencer. And that's why I think she doesn't know so many things about how social media works and the canceling culture. There is like another extreme here, people saying like, she has never experienced a normal life, we should not treat her as a responsible adult. Like, she is 32-year-old woman who served 8 years in prison, and you are telling me I should treat her as a kid? Like, I know she has a very different life experience, a very different life she was in, but still she is responsible for everything she says, just like I am. Again, I moved here 6 years ago. There are so many things I don't know about the society here. But if I do something wrong, no one would be like, oh, she just didn't know. She just moved to this country 6 years ago. She knows as little as a 6-year-old. Girl, this doesn't work like that. As much as I want to empathize to her, this is not realistic. And also, this is humiliating to her. She never had a right to make her own decision because of her mother. Then she was in prison for 8 years, and now she comes out and people will be like, she cannot make her own decision. She is not developed enough. This is super offensive. Do you realize it? Let her be responsible for everything she says. Let her learn from everything she gets. I would love people not hating her, but if they do, there's a lot to learn from it. I wish people were not as excited about her getting out of prison, because she is a criminal. I wish people paid more attention to raising the awareness about it, about child abuse victims, about people who had to murder their abusers, instead of asking her what kind of music she is into, instead of asking her about her husband and their sex life. This is all so twisted. It's so not right. We can do better as a humanity. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.